Alright, lovely people, welcome to the channel. Frank Valkyria here. I wanted to touch briefly on those articles which they're going around about Maïwenn, the director of Jean de Bourry, about Johnny Depp and his behavior on set. So I actually already read this article here from the Independent, so I just want to summarize it for you quickly. There are others which they're already going around, including other review which they're not incredibly flattering of the movie, but that's also a different subject altogether. I said many times the movie probably is around the 6.5, 6.7, well deserved. Could have been more, but then you never know smaller budget movies why they didn't have time or they didn't go full on or develop some characters a little bit better. So anyway, Maïwenn basically just stated that the crew on the set was kind of afraid of Johnny Depp, but obviously doesn't explain why that is. Obviously she mentions that very often they were waiting on him to come on set, but he basically will be on set. And when the rumors went around that because he didn't show up, she will later on retaliate against him by no showing up the day after, and she denies those rumors here in this article, saying no, I was always, despite the fact that we were always often waiting on Johnny, I was the first to arrive on the set and the last one to leave. So she was a little bit concerned because it seems that Johnny Depp has peculiar type of humor, and she didn't know how the crew will react to that type of humor. She also mentioned that she considers Johnny Depp a genius, and that's how it is. I have to admit that when I read this type of article, obviously I always have to think people expect somebody obviously to show up and be professional and so on and so forth, which to an extent it's obvious, right? But in the world of art, in the world of cinema, you're gonna encounter this type of a little bit eccentric behavior. So being late, probably Johnny Depp is not the only famous actor, big name, that has those quirks, so to speak. But if you get the job done, well, it is what it is. You know, Johnny Depp is not an accountant, or many actors are not an accountant. If you expect somebody to be there like on the second, on the spot all the time and behave in a certain way that suggests, like you're pretty much a person that fits in the box, right, so to speak, yeah, then maybe you're an accountant, not so much of an actor. I think it's fairly normal to expect a degree, right? But in general, from creative people, of not compliance to all the rules, right? So I don't know the details again about Johnny Depp, but to me it seems that they extrapolate some stuff of this article in regards like, okay, he was late, yeah, but that's kind of known that he's kind of, always the late guy, but he gets the job done. Another interesting thing would be that this guy is literally in this movie, and the only reason probably this movie is getting more attention is because this guy is in this movie. So obviously there is also a premeditation to that level to be able to land a name such as Johnny Depp or a big AAA star, because a small budget movie, if King, the 15 here was some random other dude or upcoming artist, maybe this movie would have already passed into obscurity outside of France. So it's safe to say that probably a guy like Johnny Depp probably got a massive cut on his paycheck, right, to be part of this movie. I don't think he got paid a lot. He probably got paid more than a French actor. I wouldn't be surprised that if he got paid $1 million for, or a little bit more for the amount that is on screen. But I wouldn't be surprised also if he got paid less because he just wanted to do it as well. So I don't know if that figure is disclosed. But so that's what I have to say in regards, I'm not so shocked, but from the words of Maïwenn, I don't see that there were real, like, enormous issues. It's the type of tension and perhaps difficulties that you might encounter on any set, anywhere, in any country, between all kinds of numbers of people, which is always hard, right? To have chemistry and to like each other. I just from my own experience, many years ago, I had a friend. Now I don't see him for a long time. He was an assistant director here in the circuit of Dutch commercials and cinema and so on and so forth. For a period, I knew him back until probably 2010 or 11 or so. And I remember I had this discussion talking about chemistry on set, and I was saying, like, I think it's great if all the people work together and there's a great chemistry on set or whatever. I was just projecting or whatnot, and I remember he corrected me and said, like, you know what, doesn't necessarily have to be good, that type of relationship on set. You just have to get stuff done, and sometimes also when you dislike people and there is tension, it's better because people work better under pressure, so you don't have always to wait for the idyllic situation on set to try to do a good job. So we can see it in that light here. There were some other talks about whether or not she will work, I think I read it somewhere else, whether or not she will work with Johnny Depp again. She mentioned that if the script was right, she would probably consider it. And to close this video, in regard of the movie, we have to see also what else Johnny does. Now, this is the first work after, some years. And it's also not the most extensive work, where he's not basically the main character, right? It's a little bit a second character. And she mentions also in this interview that she cut some of the lines of dialogue that he had, not so much because of retaliation or whatever, but just because it wouldn't work always with it wouldn't work beforehand with the coach, with the French coach, and she realized that he had an accent. So just like for any other actor, she had and she didn't have time, and he didn't make time for probably repeating those lines, and therefore some of the lines were cut. And then goes back again to the fact, whether or not you as an actor, you feel like, okay, you get paid enough, but also maybe you don't want to do too much, especially after you've been paid 20-25 million or more for a movie, and all of a sudden you're on a small budget, and people ask you more and more time, and more take, more and more this. So I would expect that probably that wouldn't go according to plan. Does this mean that Johnny Depp is an asshole? I mean, I don't expect this guy to be a saint, honestly, right? So people also have to be a little bit reasonable with this type of trying to dig the dirt to see if they can find finally something so that they can stick the finger and say, ha ha, you see, because that's what it feels like sometimes, Obviously, this guy is a guy. He goes to the toilet. He goes to pee. He's probably not always the best person to be around, like any other human being. Past 7 o'clock, I don't want anybody around me. I'm grumpy. Also, the morning when I wake up before the coffee. So, there are so many aspects. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on this, and I'll catch you later.